Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sarah Childers and I am a registered dietitian who is very passionate about womanhood and wellness. And today I'm going to talk about something that I think so many women can relate to, and that is our modern society pretty much destroying our health, or the rhythms of our daily modern life as women is destroying our health, and how we can possibly come back to living like humans again and restoring our health and our happiness and our fulfillment. And I think so many women relate to this because as women who are in what I call a more modern age, we are told that our productivity or our busyness or our success equals our value. So we're really pressured to do things like have a good career, have a busy lifestyle, have children and get married and maybe even get a really good education and always be busy and always online shopping and always pinning Pinterest pins of our dream life and always dreaming and wanting more. And while I'm a dreamer myself and I'm somebody who loves to make goals and has a lot of aspirations, I think a lot of what we're doing is building on top of each other and slowly causing us to not only feel really unfulfilled with our own lives, even though we are constantly making an effort to improve them, but also it tends to actually make us physically unwell, physically sick. And this is something I really want to talk about as time goes on, because I see more and more with clients that I have in my practice that the root cause of a lot of infertility, PCOS, weight loss resistance, eating disorders and all the things is really from a core imbalance with not only our hormones but our mindset. And that's why I've created an entire program that's tailored to this. But the root of a lot of our hormone dysfunction is our stress hormone, cortisol. And that stress hormone has a cascading effect on all other aspects of our health, which I'll dive into in a second. But in this video, I really want to talk about how our high level of cortisol is causing our lifestyle and our bodies to really fight us back. And I also want to talk about how when we're in a modern society, it's just a big hamster wheel and it's not fulfilling us like I think we thought it would when we were either children or when our grandmothers or our mothers were older. And it's just becoming a bit different now. And so I have a lot of opinions around this and I can't wait to share them with you. The reason I'm so passionate about this, the reason I want to share about the root cause to a lot of hormone imbalance and touch on the reason that is a huge factor right next to us having minds that are super busy all the time nonstop, is it kind of builds on each other. And I really feel as though that as we get further into the more modern day woman, as I like to say, I think we're realizing that we're getting very out of touch with God's design for our lives. And one way we can heal from this is really, as Christians, really embracing the way that God designed us as women to live. And so that's something I'll hit on in this video as well. So let's start out by talking about why all of this is happening in the first place. So much about our modern culture influences us as women to always be on the move. So whether it's scrolling on our phones or chasing a promotion at work or running one more errand while we're out, having a day that's already packed with obligations, we've kind of become trapped in a way in a rat race when always striving, never resting, always looking for the next best thing. And the result of this is elevated cortisol. So our body has a stress hormone called cortisol. And when it's constantly high because we're either in a hurry or we're stressed or we have a lot of busyness and overconsumption and overstimulation in our lives, that can cause a lot of issues in the body. And feeling like we're constantly not ever doing enough starts to take a toll on our body, because cortisol can lead to a myriad of issues. Anything from anxiety to weight gain to poor sleep to even disrupted menstrual cycles, and even infertility, because insulin, cortisol, and oxytocin are your body's base hormones for everything. So this often leads to women like you and me having to get on things like hormonal birth control to regulate our hormones, and that ends up sending us into a frenzy sometimes of anxiety and depression, because that is a real effect of being on hormonal birth control. But it also tarnishes our thyroid and our nutrient stores that we need in order to naturally conceive children. So constantly having a busy lifestyle, a go, go, go lifestyle, can actually be the root cause of certain things like endometriosis, stress, PCOS, and not having the vibrancy that we need as women in order to conceive, have a flourishing thyroid that really supports our metabolism, our body weight, our energy levels, our hair, skin, and nails, the way we look. It tends to age us even faster. And as we get into an age where we're having kids later on versus earlier in life, that's really not something we want. And I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and it's a pretty woo-woo podcast, I'm not gonna lie, but it's called The Village Podcast, and they were talking about how they see women in their practice. So there's 3 women who are the hosts. One is a chiropractor, the other one is kind of like a nutrition Instagram influencer, and then the other one is a tongue tie specialist, a very well-known, well-sought-after tongue tie specialist. And they were talking about how they see a lot of women in their practices who come to them and they are not able to conceive, or they've had a really hard time with it, and it's because they have gone through the stages of the modern woman. They went to college, they got a good education, they may or may not have spent a lot of those 4 years intoxicated, and then you get a job or you go to grad school and you're trying to, get the PhD or get into this certain program, or you start a high stress job where you're trying to climb the ladder, and then you're also trying to find somebody and get married and plan this huge wedding and having all these stressors all the time, season after season. Then you get married and you're trying for kids, but maybe you're trying to get fit at the same time, and there's a lot of strain and there's a lot of pull and tug, and by the time they get ready to have children, their body is like, listen, I paid at the door, I have given you everything I've got, I don't have the energy stores, the nutrient stores, the energetic capacity to bear children. And when I heard this, I was so convicted, because me and my husband, we've put off having children so that we can start our own businesses, so that we can live where we want to, so that we can flip houses and be successful. But it really made me redefine and rethink, what do I think is successful, because we are doing this and setting up our entire lives for our future children. But what if we're using so much of our molecular bandwidth to accomplish all our goals that we don't even have the nutrient stores or the energetic capacity to bear those children? And so that really got me thinking about a lot in our timeline and how I'm living as a woman. And I was already very convicted about this to start with, because I've seen so many women in the past 2 or so years of working one-on-one as a dietitian, holistic dietitian, with women who have hormone issues, PCOS, endometriosis, all thyroid issues, all the things. And one commonality that I see with absolutely everybody is that they lead busy lives. They may eat fine, they may, work out, take supplements, but the inner slowness and the boundaries with scheduling and just the busyness and the overconsumption piece is not there. And when we look at the body and when we see which hormones influence all of our other hormones in the body, we see that the core 3 hormones influencing everything are insulin, cortisol, and oxytocin. And when we have insulin and oxytocin in the bag, cortisol is all that's left, which is a huge reason why I made my cortisol course for women to go through in a self-paced level so that they have all the time that they need in order to naturally heal their cortisol levels and their adrenal fatigue. And I'm going to leave that below for y'all if y'all want to check that out. And if you want to sign up, this will probably actually be my intro video to the cortisol program, because I think this is the message every woman needs to hear, is that we need to kind of go back and redefine, especially if we're Christians, especially if we're Christian women, what is God's design for our lives? What did He create us to do? Is our nature and our abilities and skills, are those lining up with our lives? Because women were meant to, I think, live slower lives, be creative, to cultivate a home and cultivate a family and even a business sometimes, because I feel that for myself. But are we truly living that purpose with the busy lives that we have, constantly scrolling and having that instant gratification everywhere we turn? We have no stillness or quietness of heart, and I think that's super convicting, especially as a modern woman, especially as an entrepreneur or a go-getter or somebody who wants to have what the world thinks is success. It's a slap in the face. Now, I don't want this video to seem like I am telling you this has to be your ideals. If you're someone who wants to not get married, not have children, not be in more of that traditional paradigm, then that is completely your choice, and that is totally something that is up to you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think as a woman who desires to be in a more traditional paradigm, where we have children, have husbands, and we are cultivating a home, then we have the freedom to choose that. And it's definitely a conversation I think we should all kind of ponder upon as we look and try to design our own lives. Our bodies are designed for balanced slowness, and we're living in a world that encourages us to push harder and harder. The issue is when we operate in constant stress and we're constantly pushing ourselves to get more done, to be more productive, to achieve more, to want more, to get more, constantly consuming more. It disrupts our nervous system, and our hormones in our bodies can't keep up over time. And this imbalance tends to lead to things like brain fog, and it tends to make us feel disconnected from our own bodies and disconnected from our own creativity. When we look at our bodies and our hormonal dysfunction and the busyness in our lives, we tend to look at the next quick solution. And usually we do everything but what we are supposed to do, which is slow down and start living in a different rhythm. And that's something that I really have been trying to implement with myself, is living in a different rhythm and trying to incorporate more slowness, less consumption, more creativity into my own daily regimen. And this is something I definitely am passionate about, and something I have tried to include into my program about cortisol. What does it mean exactly to be a woman who God designed to create? I believe that God designed us all as women to create, and when I'm talking about creation, I'm not really talking about only procreation, like making children, making and raising children. I'm also talking about what we do with our hands, what we do with our minds, what we do with our life, like creating more than we are consuming. Because if we were created to nurture, cultivate something, I think that the less we do that, the less we feel fulfilled, and the more anxious we feel, and the more we feel the need to fill the space and time in our lives with something else that we don't necessarily want, which is usually busyness, consumerism, diet culture, things like that. Because the world is going to tell us we need more, we need to be more accomplished. When you think about what God calls us to do, He often calls us to be still, to rest, and to not always be doing all of the time. That's kind of where Sabbath comes in and different life rhythms come in. And if you're somebody who studies the liturgical calendar, there's a time and a season for rest, and there's a time and a season for fasting, for mourning, for reflection. And I think that's something that we were created to have embedded in our own lifestyle. And when we are living a little bit more like humans again, and we have a lifestyle that has room for rest and creation in there, we tend to live more like the humans we were designed to be. We feel more fulfilled, we feel less rushed, we feel more at peace with ourselves. And we end up, in turn, having bodies that are living in such a way that not only fulfills our souls, but fulfills our body's needs as well, because the constant go, 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 and never having a time to slow down, and never feeling like you're home, never feeling like you have enough time to do everything on your to-do list, that doesn't just crush your spirit, but that causes your cortisol levels to rise as well. And I think that's so interesting when we are thinking of like aligning ourselves with what God wants and also how He created us to be. I see so many women in my practice who have had trouble losing weight, or have had trouble with hormonal control, or just feel awful all the time. They're so tired, they never get sleep. And they tend to be mothers at different stages of life. Some of them are young mothers. I find most of them have kids who are either in school age, so probably like 8 to 18, or maybe they have kids in college or adult children that they're very hands-on with. These women are constantly away from home, always on the go, always on the road, never getting much rest for themselves, always having their mind basically bamboozled with thoughts, worries. How are they going to fix their problems? How are they going to fix their children's problems? How are they going to do all of these things? Those are the women I see most in my practice who are the most unregulated. And I think it's because there is a lack of structure in the schedule, and there's a lack of rhythms. And that's one of the reasons I actually made the program that I made, that I'll be linking below. But when we're not able to have those certain restful rhythms, and when we don't have any boundaries in our lives, that sets our bodies up for failure when it comes to our hormone control and our energy levels and our feminine vitality. Kind of going back to what I said earlier about me listening to that podcast and them talking about the busiest women that they've known in their practice are infertile because their body has given so much of its energy, of its cellular energy, to accomplishing other things outside of maternal creation. So what does it look like to actually practice this in your own life? Because I don't ever want to have a long video like this and us not talk about the practical tips that you can actually use in your own life. I've personally seen this shift in my own life, and it's been really transformative. Over the last year and a half or two, I have made my own job. I have become business owner and gone full time with my business, and it's cost me a lot of energy, and it's cost me a lot of damage on my body, if I'm being honest. And in the last few months, I've been able to do a gut health test and a hair tissue mineral analysis test that I offer within my practice on myself, and I've seen that I am in the beginning stages of adrenal exhaustion and stress, and that really scared me because I know what that means for my body, my thyroid, my fertility, my hormones. I reeled back very quickly when I got these results that I was on the verge towards burnout. And one of the first things I did was actually schedule time in to rest on the weekends and to cultivate my weeks to be very productive, but not exhausting, but very productive, so that on the weekends I could leave my phone and laptop alone and not go back to it. Another thing that was very helpful, I was working PRN at a hospital, and doing your own business full time and working 60 hours a week, and then also working at a hospital every other weekend and throughout the week trickled in, is very exhausting. And so I gave up something to get something back. So oftentimes when we are looking to improve our lives, you have to give something up in order to get something back, because there is only so much room on your plate. And this cost me a little bit of finances, a little financial loss, not much, but honestly, it did more for me in the first 2 weeks that I quit than anything else did. And friends, it is not just about slowing down for the sake of slowing down. It's about finding true rest and about creating space for God to speak into your life and space for your body to heal and for your cortisol to be lowered and for your adrenal glands to heal and replenish and to give space for the things in your life that you actually want to be there. I find that most people fill their life with things and obligations that they don't actually want to be there. And I want to share some tips that I have for things I've done in the last few months to practically slow down and replenish my adrenal glands and restore my cortisol balance so that I can rest well, get good sleep, and limit these hormonal disruptions that I've been having within my body, and even some disruptions I've been having within my mind and my spirit. It's not about deleting the digital world, although stepping out of the digital social media and everything is part of it, but it's more about not over consuming in every area of your life, whether that is social media or maybe it's food or work. Everything can become overwhelming and take away from your natural rhythms. So this is how I have been able to actually realign with what some of my natural rhythms are. So I do have them here on my phone. Some things that I did to realign and underconsume in order to give myself more space to rest was a phone clean out. So I actually do this every year, and luckily in the past few months it was the beginning of 2025, so this helps a lot. But I do this periodically throughout the year as well. But a phone clean out where you unfollow people from social media, unsubscribe from certain apps or subscriptions you may have, unsave, unpin things on Pinterest. So going through all my Instagram saves and all my TikTok saves and all my Pinterest saves and just getting rid of a lot of stuff that was there that didn't need to be there. And then going through, sifting and deleting things, whether that was apps, whether that was messages, pictures, videos, whatever that really didn't belong there. I use my notes app all the time on my phone, and I went through and deleted a ton of notes just so my mind was more clear and I wasn't always looking out for something that I was missing. Another thing I did was put my phone and laptop away as much as possible on the weekends. So I created space within my week to really have a productive week to where I could put my phone and laptop away and not have to be on it, because there was a point where I was working every Saturday and Sunday and every day in between, trying to get my business off the ground. Get a creative hobby. So this has been more of a learning curve for me, but I wanted to find a creative hobby. I did take up painting just a tad bit, but I do love to actually go thrift and make things into decor. One of the things I really want to do this year is get into ceramics and do something like that with my hands, because I love cooking as well and I find that to be a creative hobby, but I am a dietitian, I design recipes, I do things like that for a living, so I don't always want to cook. Decluttering your home without plans to reinvest. So this is a big one that I think a lot of us do on a regular yearly basis, but we might not actually have it in our mind that we're going to not reinvest. So being able to get rid of things in your closet or in your cabinets or whatever and think, okay, yeah, I'm getting rid of this and I don't plan on filling this with a bunch of junk. Reading instead of watching. So right now when I'm filming this, it's technically Fat Tuesday or the Tuesday before Lent starts. And I think this could be a great thing to give up. This is something me and my husband have done and talked a lot about, but giving up something like TV time, so that we can do things like read or just visit at night, instead of watching TV, just because it really is truly the bane of my existence. TV is. If I could not watch TV ever again, I'd probably choose to not watch TV ever again. And I have so many opinions on this and so many little quirks that are very annoying and outlooks on it. But I find that most people are wasting their life spending 3 to 4 hours a day at night from the hours of 5 to 10 p.m., if not later, with their eyes glued to a TV. And when you add that up, if you are somebody who during just the weekdays you watch TV from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., you are working a part-time job. That is the amount of time that you're spending just consuming TV, consuming storylines outside of your own self, consuming stressful storylines, consuming drama, 20 hours a week. That's a lot of time. And I just wonder what else we could be doing with our time that's just a bit more life-giving. Being choosy with what I keep in my mind. So being choosy with my thoughts, holding every thought captive. This is extremely hard for me, and I'm somebody who I am very passionate. I have a lot of impulse thoughts. I historically have been a very impulsive person, and so controlling my thoughts has been really a hard journey for me, but it's something that I think is so needed for not only my mental health and my sanity, but also for everyone around me to have good thoughts and to control my mind. The last thing I have is prioritizing rest, not just sleep, but true rest. So this can mean stepping away from the grind and going into deep intentional self-care. And this is kind of where my program comes in. So in my program, I'm helping women find balance. I'm helping them to regulate their hormones in their body so that they can actually find and pursue their true purpose. That is the reason behind this program I just made, is to actually help women have more mind space to create the life of their dreams, because this is something I've thought about for myself a lot, and I'm very into self-help. I have been for years and years, and I'm very into creating the life that you want. And I think in a way, this is something that I've already been on the journey with, like quitting my job out of nowhere in order to pursue my own business and create the life schedule that I want, wear the clothes that I want on a regular basis, not be tied down to a certain job with certain expectations, and creating materials that I think women need the most has been part of my life's design and journey. And so I really want to use this course and this program as a way to influence women to have the mental capacity and the energy to pursue the life that they actually want. And if that means getting out of the rat race and starting their own business, or if that means hunkering down and starting a family, or doing something different with the family that they already have, then that's what they have the mind space to do. But I wanted to add this in, so I'm going to try to put it right here, but I found this productivity wheel of productive rest. So things that you can do that aren't just you sitting on the couch rotting, that can be restful and actually help give you rest. And it's based off category of like mind, spirit, physical, mental rest. And it's really stuck with me, and it's really been embedded into my mind that like I don't have to sit on my couch just to rest, because that's really not very restful for me. And I did just want to add as like a little caveat about my own journey. I, in the past year, went through a period where I had gained weight, lost hair, started growing hair right here a little bit. I went to the ER for having heart palpitations from being so stressed. I had major adrenal fatigue. I was having so many nervous system and hormone dysregulations. It was crazy, and I'm now on the other side of it. I've not had heart palpitations in 8 or 9 months. I've been able to, I can tell, restore my hormones to where I do not have as, I don't have any hairs growing, and my hair has stopped falling out as bad, and I'm starting to see myself digest things better. My digestion was super, super off, because my body was always in fight or flight, and when your body's in fight or flight, it doesn't digest things. But my digestion was off. I was super, super bloated all the time. I was gaining weight, and I feel like I've gotten to a place to where I'm not constantly bloated after meals. I'm seeing myself slowly but surely going back to my normal weight. It's been transformative. Now that I'm running my business full time on my own, some could say that I'm more stressed than I ever have been, but I currently feel calmer than I have in a really long time. And I honestly think that it's from diet, supplementation with nutrients that help with the adrenal glands and with the nervous system. But also, I think a lot of it was lifestyle based and giving myself the space to rest and restore. That's what I'm offering in my Fully Feminine course, is giving yourself the mind space and bandwidth to have nutrients in your body that support your hormones and your cortisol, and then taking it a step further and looking at your entire lifestyle. And I really want this for everyone else as well. I don't think we have to live like the world tells us to. I think that in a world that is super busy and overconsumed and overwhelmed, I think that we as women can be a really good, strong anchor in the storm. And I think that we can take our own initiatives and our own radical responsibility over our lives and our health. And I think we can make changes if we want to, in order to see the health, the vibrancy, the fertility, the fragility that we want in our own lives. So I encourage you to step back and ask yourself a question. Am I living like a human was designed to live? Or am I living more like a robot, being turned off, turned on, used on overdrive, storing information constantly without any sort of creativity or rest, constantly racking my brain with thoughts but never actually having a full thought? If you've been caught in the chaos and if you're running on empty, the reason for that could be because we've lost our biological design when it comes to our daily routines. If you resonated with this video, I would love to hear your thoughts below in the comment section, and I would also love it if you like and subscribe to my channel, because it really helps me to not only grow my channel, but it also helps other people see content like this that they might be searching for. And I feel as though this type of content on YouTube is not super prevalent. These deep, emotional, health related wellness, womanhood talks that I have on here. If you are ready to change your life and your habits and your hormones, please go to the link below and sign up for my cortisol course.